wouldn't put it past Trump doing a version of the Chad FDR train. I mean, but the thing is, there has been rules put in place since then. The rules have been formalized since FDR. So either, and when he says there's ways of doing that, that's the thing that kind of unsettles me, because what way is there really of doing a third term with Trump in office outside of legislative reform? You would need a majority in the House and Senate that is so significant that you can change the Constitution. You don't have that majority, and Trump is not the art of the deal guy. So what does he mean? So is he just gonna I can do 3 terms? Whoever changed the Constitution did it illegally. It was always 3 terms. Fake news said it was 2 terms. Fake news lied again. You could have always done 3 terms. It's just that Obama was too stupid to think about doing it. Pretty much that, yes. I mean, that is what I think he'll probably do. I mean, we can go straight into that one because, wow. I'm sorry. It's just the 3rd term. Why would he say this now, before the midterms? You would wait until after the midterms if you had any political sense about you. And that's, again, to say that he has media sense. He knows how to get in the media. He knows how to create a stir. He might even be trying to use this as a distraction. But this is immediate, before your 100 days is over, already talking about a 3rd term. I mean, it's as if you're trying to validate the people who said he's an authoritarian right when he gets in there and he said he's going to act like a dictator on day 1. He meant it. And hey, look, he meant it. He meant it. He meant it when he, ignored the legislature, ignored the power of the purse when it comes to gutting USA, when it comes to gutting CFPB. And so, I mean, this is the type of stuff that is unnecessary for the actual pressure he's putting on these institutions at this point, unless he unironically just thinks that since the midterms are so far away, now is the time to test the water. I do not know. But here is the moment where Donald Trump suggests he's going to run for a 3rd term. And we can get into the implications of a Trump 3rd term as well, because there are a lot of them.
It will be the greatest honor of my life to serve not once, but twice, or 3 times, or 4 times. Headlines from the fake news. Now it will be to serve twice.
Should I run again? You tell me. There's your controversy right there. There's your controversy.
CNN's Betsy Klein is live in.
So here is the line that they don't lead with, that they only drop 1 minute 40 seconds in there. In today's news economy, maybe they should have not done that. Here is the line of Christian Welker and President Trump going back and forth. Christian Welker of NBC News going back and forth about whether or not he's serious about any of this, because the way he does it, he's laughing, he's giggling, and the usual response to this is, look, he's trolling the libs, that when you guys freak out, about him being authoritarian, he's trolling. It's all it's a big meme. It's all a big meme. It's usually how it's leaned into. Now that doesn't answer the unconstitutional actions of the power of the purse. It feels like the conservatives are kind of stuck in 2012 Reddit brain forever, and they just haven't been able to break out of it when communicating with a lot of these people. But here we are again, once more, seeing not smoke, but fire at the doorstep at this point. Christian Welker, sir, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you don't sound like you're joking. I heard you joke about this a number of times. President Trump, no, I'm not joking. I'm not joking. Okay, so I don't need to hear any of CNN's spin on this, right? I don't need any of the spin. Okay, let me just put up an unrelated image. So the thing is, I've been thinking, President Trump, 4 more years, right? That in 2028, President Trump actually tries to run again. Now, there's a few ways to think about this, right? A few ways to think about this. So the first way to think about it is, let's say Okay, before we even get into all the Debbie Downer, what is the Constitution? Okay, until we get into all that liberal hippie nonsense, the Constitution. Before we do that, let's just say it happens. Let's just say that Trump continues to gauge the room, gets enough of a positive response, and runs again, right? And either through legitimate means, actually being able to avoid a further economic problem, recover the economy, maybe find some foreign policy successes, or through deeper, that you could say some, hey, look, there's some positive things, or through some more repressive means, trying to intimidate the press to cover him differently, for example, or trying to work with the wealthiest among the country in order to buy up more and more TV space and controlling what can be and cannot be broadcasted until our media space looks a lot more like Viktor Orban's Hungary than the free press that our country would like to be known for. And maybe that could lead, but you don't know, right? It could be some giveaways right before the election. We have no clue. It could be good means, bad means. Let's say he just wins another 4 years. He could just straight up cheat, steal it. Do a J6, but succeed, doesn't matter. If he gets in there, he's going to be older than Biden was when he left office. By the time he's being sworn in, he will be the oldest president in American history by a good 3.5 years. And we saw Donald Trump on the campaign trail when he was being put under pressure. And let me just say, controlled pressure. If you compare Donald Trump on the campaign trail in 2024 to Donald Trump on the campaign trail in 2016, he did 1/3 or 1/4 of the rallies. He was not doing as many public appearances. While these public appearances can drag on, the old ones could even sometimes drag longer. Point is, he was going a lot more harder on the curb back then. Now that makes sense. Donald Trump's getting up there. But then when he makes certain slip ups about who he's talking to in ways that are eerily reminiscent of the creeping slowness, and you can call it brain fuzz, or your mind is somewhere else, that has entered Donald Trump on many occasions, that we also saw enter Biden. Now, that's not to say that they have whatever was causing Biden to slow down, whether it was a combination of stutter and mental decline or any number of factors. Because honestly, even though Biden's left office, we still don't have a clear medical diagnosis of exactly why Biden was having certain slip-ups, whether it was legitimate mistakes compounded by just him being an older man, and so, or if there was legitimate mental decline. Who knows? Either way, Biden leaves office, Donald Trump goes in there, gets older than him. We're seeing him slow down that way on the campaign trail. We're seeing a few instances of him in office having a few of those moments. Now, I'm not saying that Donald Trump was even at the point that Biden was when it comes to brain fuzz, whatever you want to call it. We'll just call it brain fuzz. And I know it's a weird way to put it, for just the purpose of this conversation. As you get older and, you slow down in multiple ways, and it can happen. Some people doesn't happen for, other people does. There's a potentiality that Donald Trump's already sporadic nature could intensify the further you get into a Donald Trump. I guess at that point you would say reign, right? If you're going in the third term Donald Trump territory, reign. And I know it's hard to think about when you hear Donald Trump build a skyscraper in Gaza on the ruins of all these homes, and who knows whether maybe they don't want to go back, and he's flip-flopping on Ukraine policy, flip-flopping on this policy, saying things that at times sounds like, oh, he kind of wants to do what to his political things that either are sporadic just to his nature of being a brute, or sporadic because he's starting to slip. It's really sometimes hard to tell. And the further it goes on, and the further it becomes harder to tell whether that's just Donald Trump's nature and that's always how he has been, or if he really is worse than ever, we're in a Mad King scenario. We're in a Mad King scenario where somebody has developed a personality cult in his own party to the point where those within the king's court will not betray him, will not usurp him for power, are just waiting for him to drop so they can try to grab the crown. But in the meantime, they please the king in the king's court. They act like jesters. They fight for his amusement. He watches Marco Rubio and Elon Musk like go back like it's a ping pong match. You know, tons of reports of this happening. Watching the infighting and sicking people on those who break with the party line. At least the party line on the MAGA movement and everything's fine, everything's fine. Let's give Voice of America to Carrie Lake and make it like a 24-hour North Korea-style music broadcast. This is going to restore America's respect on the global stage. Carrie Lake has shown by losing multiple elections, but being on TV that one time, that she knows how to manage the Voice of America, which has like broadcasts and in tons of different languages. I think like 49 countries around the world. I think more. I think it's 49 languages, right? And I think well over 49 countries around the world. Just she's in charge of it. Why? I don't know. Because she was a loser in elections, so she has to get appointed. She was a loser in an election, and she lost so many times in Arizona. They just wanted to get her out of there, so maybe somebody could run there that could win. Either way, we're going to get these types of decisions where these are the people that have to stand up to Trump as he continues to descend. Carrie Lake,
corrupt, bankrupt man.
Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, like the Pete Hegseth, Mike Waltz, who is already on maybe even thin ice in the administration. Definitely as the Israelis have started to got angry about the signal leak. And now that the Israelis are angry about it, now it's a scandal, okay? Now it's a scandal. Either way, let's just say that while Trump now is bad, and of course it will be worse if we went down this scenario and Donald Trump continuing to descend further and further as he somehow extends himself into a third term. A lot of it will depend on how much institutional control he can get in the meantime. But if he can run a third term, then you can assume that he has enough institutional control that it no longer matters. So there's the scenario that I would say is very scary. I still think it's unlikely, but I just wanted to run through if we would actually go through with this, what I think would happen. Because I see Donald Trump slowing down, and he might be able to make it to the end of his 4 years. I'll try to be generous, but to think that this man could be president for another 8 years, I'm not even trying to like put down Trump because I don't like Trump. Human beings are human beings, right? Look at Obama for the first, like when he first got in there and when he got out of there, right? And Trump has 4 years in between, and he started much later. And he's also perpetually angry. Sekja, thank you so much for the primer. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now, as for the actual plausibility of something like this, it's not plausible, really. It's not plausible because you would need a 2/3 majority, which he does not have, and he's not conceivably going to get in the near future or really anytime soon, because Donald Trump is not going to have that type of a midterm. And I don't need to even like say, oh, no, he's just not going to. He's not going to have a midterm. It's not possible. If you look at historical trends on how the first midterms for presidents go, which they don't always go that way. For example, Joe Biden reduced the deficit, but they still lost the House. Even when they reduced the deficit and they said, wow, we broke the trend on how bad it was, they still lost. And so odds are they're probably going to lose the first midterm in 2 years. That's probably part of the reason why they're getting so aggressive and try to get this through now, and the legislators doing nothing to stop Trump, is because they might know that in 2 years, you know, since Donald Trump's not going to be able to do art of the deal with his opposition because he has no idea how he would even begin to do that, this is the strategy that they've instead pursued. So they don't have the majority to do it. And the only way I could see him doing it again is if somehow he's gotten so much institutional capture that he can do it without the need of changing the Constitution, which is clearly defined now that you serve 2 terms. So kind of difficult for him to maneuver his way there. That's evident. I love this image. I'm sorry. This is a beautiful picture. Okay, but here's the thing. this is why I don't understand why Donald Trump's doing this right now. I mean, there's only one possibility if he's smart, and so I'll leave that to the end, right? But I still don't like it. It's, I mean, from like even his standpoint, wait till after the midterms if you're really gonna attempt something like this, making it so you can, go for a third term. You have to be able to get complete institutional capture. This is not the type of thing that you can just kind of hold up as the Democrats get reelected into office. If Donald Trump has any hope of not just trying to do as much as possible in the next 4 years and then tap out and golf for the rest of his year and collect checks, and he has an intention of being like an Erdogan, just lasting in there and like arresting his political opponents, or even just being around till the end, just keeping going and going and going and changing, he's gonna have to do really well in the midterms. And the only way to do that is either through, aggressive, trying to crack down on the media while doing something to stop the economy from collapsing in the next 2 years, to salvage a midterm that, can buck historical trends, which is the only real pathway to do that. And if you're going to do that, don't tell the American public, as you're already not delivering economic promises, hey, maybe I should run a third term as your polling is going down. As your polling is going down. So I don't think this is smart politicking, but it might be, from at least Trump's standpoint, smart probing, where he's thinking like, look, this isn't, and this would be how maybe somebody with an intellect would think about it. Look, this doesn't look good, and this won't help my popularity. But if I do this now, way before the midterm, and don't do it later, closer to the midterms, then way in advance, I can find out who in the party is on board, who in the party is not on board, how the public would feel about it, whether it's even a viable pathway. Because, you kind of, when you think about the future in your life, you get over one hurdle, then you think about the future and you get over another hurdle. You hit one goal, like, my goal was to hit 1 million subscribers. Oh, now my goal is to hit 10 million subscribers, And so Trump might have just done that. And so now he's doing the testing ground as he thinks into the future, while he still fails to secure the present. And so this is the way that you would probe before an election, way in advance, probably around this time, if you wanted people to forget about it by the midterms, hoping they would forget about it by the midterms, because people could still play it on ads and attack ads and stuff. The internet is forever. It's not like the opposition research is very hard here. So it's still going to hurt you. But if you had to do that, or you felt that you had to test it, now would be the time. Now would be the time. Big Red offers an alternative proposal. Third term isn't serious. He just wants you to talk about it instead of the important things. I mean, maybe, possibly. And this is the thing, is that could be true. And this is the problem with the Trump circus, is a lot of this could be to distract from other things, from certain court battles that are going on right now. Or, for example, certain unconstitutional actions. But on the other hand, even if that is the case, breaking down the standard, breaking down the norm, which I do like the norm. I do like the 2-term norm. Breaking that down is still bad. And the more pressure he puts on it, or suggests that he could do it even without maybe even a legislative majority, that normalization is bad. Because let's say that the political circumstances in this country changes, and the political movement past Trump in 20 years, when you have President, I don't know, Barron. It doesn't need to be Barron. It could be President anybody. President Greg Abbott, who knows? And then they face a moment where they're going into their end of their second term. Then they can call upon the fact, hey, Trump talked about ending the third term. We talked about this before. Now we have a 2/3 majority because of this boomerang, swing of the political pendulum. And now it's on our side. So how about we try to change the rules? Who knows? So and while again, we're talking about scenarios that are not particularly likely, you need to control for externalities. You need to control for these externalities because, the higher the percentage is, the longer it goes on, the more risk there is. And the more likely it's going to be that there will be at least an attempt. And even if it's a failed attempt, that can shake the system. that can shake confidence in the system, that can make people question the strength of institutions. And a lot of times, institutions' power do not come from, oh, wow, look, when I poke the institution, I get beaten up by the U.S. Marshal. It comes from the respect that it just emanates from society, that everybody knows that, oh, you were just convicted, so the police take you away for your crime. Oh, this court said that you can't do that, so the president can't do that. And if he does that, oh my gosh, we need to, but if those norms break down, a lot of this institutional power breaks away. That doesn't mean they don't have legal mechanisms. Courts have marshals, they have subpoena power. These are particularly powerful things that they have. Steve Bannon got done in because of that. So they do have tools at their disposal, but you can't just rely on one tool in the tool belt. And that type of societal reverence is important. Oh, by the way, guys, the signal crisis is over. Okay? The signal crisis is over.